My dad neglected me my whole childhood. I found out why. When I was little, my mom and I did lots of fun activities together, but whenever I try to play with my dad, he'd be uninterested and tell me to go annoy my mom. Every day I try again to spend time with him, even if it was to watch him work on his car, but he always pushed me away no matter what I did. I believe my dad just didn't like me, so as I got older I stopped asking him. He wouldn't even hang out with me on my birthday. One year, he spent my birthday with our next-door neighbor's son playing catch. When I asked him if I could join, he told me not to be so rude, that I'm disturbing their practice. I spent the rest of my birthday crying because I disappointed my dad. Worst of all, when I was sick he refused to show me any comfort, telling me to stop being a baby and man up. Recently, I was in the kitchen preparing my dad a snack and I heard him outside on the phone with one of his friends. I wasn't really paying attention to what he was saying until my name was mentioned. I began listening in more carefully and heard him tell his friend that he wished he had a son. He said that he never wanted a girl and was sick of me trying to build a relationship with him. My dad then mentioned that he had tried to get my mom to have a second kid to see if he could get a son, but my mom disagreed, so he just ignored me all my life and let my mom raise me. I ran to my room after leaving out his snack for him and cried. I debated telling my mom, but I didn't want to cause an argument. When my mom got home from work, I waited until she wasn't busy to talk to her. I asked her to come with me to my room. I closed the door behind us and I told her what I overheard. My mom was dead silent while I recounted what happened. She hugged me and told me how sorry she is, that she had no idea. My mom went to confront my dad, who just straight up admitted it. They got into a massive argument which ended up with my dad going to stay at my grandma's house for a bit. My dad neglected me my whole childhood. I found out why. I woke up last night to some loud bangs on our front door. My dad was screaming at us to let him in, but my mom was hesitant. He said that we really needed to talk, so she let him in to say his piece. We all sat in the living room where he started apologizing for what had happened and telling us he regretted it. My dad said he was willing to step up and be a better father so he could have intimacy with my mom again. I ignored the latter point and asked him how exactly he planned to make up for neglecting me my whole childhood because of what's between my legs. My dad suggested he could bring me out shopping for some manly clothes so I can get some bonding time and he could just pretend I was his son. I went crazy at him, telling him he's missing the whole point. I'm a girl. He started apologizing and had some tears in his eyes, which sort of surprised me. My mom had enough of his manipulation tactics and asked me to head to my room, so I did. I could hear my mom ripping my dad a new one, saying that he couldn't even be considered a man with how he was going on. She forced him to leave the house once again. After my dad left, she came into my room and told me that he would not be allowed in our home anymore. She gave me a huge hug before telling me that she even texted my grandma the night he left. Apparently my grandma tore into him, kicking him out, so he had to stay at one of his friends' houses. My dad neglected me my whole childhood. I found out why. I was home alone last weekend watching Star Wars and I heard knocking on the front door. I went down to check who it was and saw my dad standing there. His eyes were completely red looking and I could smell the alcohol off him through the door. As soon as he saw me come up to the door, he begged me to let him in. I opened the door to tell him that if he wanted to talk we could talk there. He started apologizing for everything and then tried to guilt me into forgiving him by going on about how I'm all that's stopping him from being with my mom. When I said no, he got extremely mad and started to threaten me with the glass bottle he was holding. I was waiting for him to back up so I could shut the door, but then he started to calm down. He said I couldn't blame him for how he was acting because he had it worse. My dad went on to tell me he wasn't interested in me growing up because I was not his kid. I was dumbfounded hearing that and asked what he meant, and he said if you were my child you would not be a girl, so you aren't my kid. I actually was shocked he thought that was how it worked and I was not his child because I wasn't born a boy. I started to call him mentally disabled if he thought that's how it worked. That infuriated him. He lunged forward and laid hands on me. I started to yell and managed to push him backwards. He fell off the porch, so I shut the door quicker than Deji getting knocked out and locked it before calling my mom. She immediately called the police and rushed home to find yelling and trying to pry the door back open. After a few minutes the cops showed up and he was taken in an ambulance to a hospital because the fall broke his wrist. Then he was arrested for assault since we have cameras that caught the whole thing on video.